Oh hey, Spencer with Guardian Game Studio, and I've got to announce our last Kickstarter of 2024. Now we've got a lot of games we've been working on over the past year, and instead of just doing one Kickstarter after another, I decided let's just put all of our games out there. Also put out some inventory that we have from prior games, some ports of some old games onto new cartridges, and launch it all at once. So without any further ado, I want to jump into our games, but first, happy holidays, because we're going to be launching this on Christmas Eve. Starting at the top with our Unity build game, this is a Dungeons and Dragons-esque type game. One person's going to play as the Dungeon Master Gmosis from my series of novels. If you haven't checked those out, you can get a copy on Amazon. And then you're going to play as the 5 clansmen, traversing a field of cards, flipping them over, in the end to battle off against Gmosis. Now, again, I'm kind of describing this as a Dungeons and Dragons type game. I'd suggest if you want the game rules, go to guardiangamestudio.com. You can check those out. Also, you can see inside the Kickstarter, there's some more information on it, kind of showing you what it looks like. This is specifically and only an online game. So this isn't local network or playing with somebody unless you opened up multiple copies of the game and we're all sitting in front of it. It's 5 to 6 player. The fewer players you have, the more difficult the game is. It's very well balanced at 6 players. And for $5, you get a copy that you can share with all of your friends. We'll send that to you on a digital ROM, so this is a digital tier only. Again, share it with everybody. What we want to do is build some excitement for the novels and push out some sales for those that we have, because we've got the 3rd book coming out later this summer. And I'll move on to our next one here, Winsley's Guardian. Now, this is the original game that we had a Kickstarter on that was successful. We shipped all those carts out, except for from the manufacturer, we were given a whole bunch of carts that did not have a save feature that was functioning. A lot of it was due to a dead battery or for the cart not to have that functionality. So we've got a bunch of carts. We weren't able to test all of them with the exception of just making sure that they work, they do play. So you have something like a Retron Squared or a Retron 5. Without having the save feature is not going to be a big deal to you because you can save it to the internal memory. It's not really that long of a game if you're talking about a top-down RPG. It's about 4 to 7 hours, again, depending upon if you go after all the Easter eggs. So if you want a $45 game for $15, this is a great way to get a copy of a previously successful Kickstarter, Winsley's Guardian. This is by far probably the game that we are most proud of at Guardian Game Studio because it is just such a fantastic game. If you want to check out a review of the game, you can go to Mike's Gaming Gala on YouTube. He does a fantastic walkthrough of the game, and I couldn't be more thankful for him as a friend to the studio. Moving on to Diabetor and the Sugar Monsters. This is the game that kicked the studio off. We produced this game a couple of years back, and we're selling this game at a significant discount because this is additional stock that we have. So we're trying to move out some of the old stock. And this is a really fun game. If you know somebody that's a diabetic or is a diabetic like myself, I'm a type 1 diabetic, I have been for years, this is just a great way to share some positive messages to those people. So if you've got kids that are type 1 diabetics, or if you know somebody that's going through that, it talks about some of the foods and some great recipe ideas in the manual, so you get a complete in-box copy for only $20. Moving down to Jab This. This is a satirical game based on the jab and COVID. I think a lot of us, grew our love of gaming during the pandemic because we really didn't have a whole lot to do. I grew my love of creating games through that, and so there's a game about that. Again, this is not meant to be a political statement at all. I take no sides. I identify with no sides. I think it's just a funny way to satirically throw some dad jokes and some shade at some sketchy political figures and pharmaceutical companies that kind of made all of our lives hell for a couple of years. So again, not meant to be a political game, just really throwing some, something out there for all of us to have a little bit of fun with. So that is the game Jab This. It's only $30. I think you'll have a lot of fun with that. Moving over to an N64 port, and I just want to say this at the outset. The N64 port does not mean N64 graphics. What we're doing is taking the original ROM and porting that over to an N64 cart. A lot of those reasons are for better sound, higher frame rate. We're able to add more content. For example, like Winsley's Guardian, we filled up that cart to the max. It was a huge game. By porting it over to an N64 cartridge, we've got a higher frame resolution, we've got some better sound quality, and we're able to add more content to the game. That's really no different with Diabetor and the Sugar Monsters. It does have additional content in the game as far as what we've added at a whole nother level, some additional bosses, and some additional music. So that's what you'll find on the N64 cart. And maybe you just want this because you're an N64 collector. Maybe you want to play it on the big screen. It does have some really sharp graphics. We've gotten several test carts from the manufacturers, so I think it is worth it if you are in it to this type of game for the N64. Moving down to the Game Boy Color mystery cart. I'm not really going to say a whole lot about this, with the exception of this is going to have the most rockin' tunes possible ever on a Game Boy Color, and the game is focused around some musical components to it, but I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil too much in the game because I'm really trying to see what this does out in the field as far as people that are interested in this type of a game. It will be ported on the N64 as well, but this one's going to be for the Game Boy Color version of it, and this will be a larger game. As far as, if your size, it's not going to be a quick, one and done. There's going to be a lot of replayability to it, so you're going to want to go back to it. And again, I'll just mention that the tunes of it will be done by Jordan Walters, who also did the tunes for Winsley's Guardian and our NES game Bloodshed, based on my novels, The Five Clans of Tricybor. So if you think the tunes there are rockin', I think you'll really enjoy the tunes in this mystery game. Moving down to Nathan and Luke, Badasses at Law for the Game Boy. This is for the Game Boy Color. You'll find a really strategic side scroller. It is difficult. It is NES hard. Don't expect to be able to jump into this game and easily traverse through all the 25 levels and the 5 bosses. This is going to be a little bit more like one of those games where it's like, hey, this is pixel perfect hard. So if you screw up, if you hit a spike, if you die, it's your fault, not the game's. So if you're really into those challenging type side scrollers, I think you'll have a lot of fun with this game. And this is a new game from Guardian Game Studios. So we've gone through 3 new games. We've got, of course, The Five Clans of Tricybor, our mystery game, Nathan and Luke, Badasses at Law, and we're going to move down to the Jab This port to the N64. Now we've taken Jab This, add a little bit more content to it, and that's really all that we've really done with it. It's not really a huge difference between the two. So if you like to have this on an N64 card, again, if you're a collector, I think you'll enjoy this game. We did add a whole other level to the game, and some more dad jokes in there about the pandemic, so I think you'll enjoy that if that's something you're into. Moving down to Winsley's Guardian. This is the new cart, so the manufacturer is shipping us hundreds and hundreds of replacement carts for Winsley's Guardian. This will have a functional save feature. We were sent one this last week, and we've shown that that does work, so they fixed the save board issue with the battery, so you'll be able to get a complete in-box copy. This is a limited run, so after these boxes are out, once they're gone, that's it. You'll only be able to get them in the future in a non-clear version. So this is, again, a limited run off of what we had from our original Kickstarter. Jesse and Matt, Badasses at Law. Now, got a couple of attorney friends. The first game was made off of this. Second game is made off of them too as well. And what we've done is taken the original, I call it pixel perfect hard side scroller, and changed it up. They practice different areas of law, so I made it more focused around those guys and got some different pixel art for it, some different tunes, again, by Jordan Walters, and just changed up the game dynamics a little bit to make it different. So it is totally a different game. You're going to see a lot of the same sprites and backgrounds that we've used, but it is a completely new build. So that's Jesse and Matt, Badasses at Law for the N64. Moving down to our mystery N64 game. This isn't going to be any different from the prior build. We're just going to have one additional part to the game. So I would say as far as the overall size of the game, probably adding about 10% more to this game. That's really going to be the only difference. Again, the N64 carts do have a little bit different frame rate, a little bit higher frame rate. You do have different sound, just because there's different sound channels, and so you might like that, you might not like that. But this mystery cart is a port of the GBC game. Moving down to a new game that I am exceptionally proud of is the complete in-box Soren Rising. Now, if you haven't read the book, this is probably the book that I'm the most proud of that I've written. Soren Rising, The Five Clans of Tricybor. This is available on Amazon. This game is built off of that. So if you want lore in your video games, read the book, check this out, play the game. It follows it very closely. You're able to play as Soren using all the different weapons from the 5 clans, and I think you'll really enjoy this game. It by far is my favorite side scroller that probably ever been made. I might be a little bit biased there, but I think what happens here is you're crossing over like Mega Man / NES Batman / Mario 6 Golden Coins for the Game Boy Color, and really bring that all together. It is a fantastic game. I couldn't be more proud of this game. Moving down to the N64 port of Winsley's Guardian. Again, same game, but because of our size limitations in that cart, we were limited. We couldn't add much more to it, so we've added about 15% more to that game, so a whole other area. Added a lot more context to, if you've played the game already, to the graveyard scene there, some additional difficult puzzles throughout the game too as well. So if you really enjoyed that game, which I've got a lot of great feedback on, I think you'll also enjoy the N64 port of it. All right, moving down to our Five Clans of Tricybra NES game. That is the Kickstarter that we successfully launched, and that one's already out in the ether. Carts should be starting to ship, I would say, probably about January for that one. This is the exact same cart, this exact same game. We just put it on this Kickstarter because we ordered a ton of carts, so we're going to have some extras from that original Kickstarter. So if you haven't gotten a copy or you didn't get a copy from that Kickstarter, you can get one here. And again, it is the Five Clans of Tricybra NES game, programmed by Dale Coop, music by Jordan Walters again, so I think you'll really enjoy this game as well. It is a fantastic Zelda-esque game, a ton of replayability because, as you know, if you've read the novels, each of the five clans has different attributes and abilities, so you're going to traverse all through Tricybra, and you're going to be able to play with that unique clan member's weapon. So you can play as Drut, you can play as Soren, you can play as Beckett, Keth, or Zane, and be able to beat, ultimately at the end, Gamosis. All right, moving down to the NES port. So we took that original game and ported it over to the NES to the N64. We added some additional players. That's really going to be the only difference here, was we added some additional people you can play as through the game. Not really a whole lot additional as far as gameplay, because we try to really keep close to the story. Just to mess with the game would really be messing with the story, and I wanted to make sure that if you're reading the books, you want to be able to follow what was in the novels. So an N64 port of Bloodshed is here at $60. Moving down to the complete inbox Soren Rising N64 port, we did fill up the cart. We've got great music, of course, in the game, but we did fill that up, and because it is all these games that we've produced for the Game Boy Color, it is limited in size, and we're really able to expand on that with the N64 port of it. So you'll be able to get a copy of this with the expanded ROM. I think we're able to add a whole new area to that, so think about it as adding a whole new level. Again, if I'm trying to reference different games to give you some type of a visual idea, imagine Mario for the 6 golden coins adding a whole nother level with multiple smaller levels behind that. So, and the last component here is a digital download of all of the games. Of course, I think you'll really enjoy that, just to be able to have that. If you're a person who likes to play on an emulator, you'll have that. And then we recently added one more component to it, and that was a book by my little brother. It's an interactive kids pinball game, and it's only $13. He had a successful Kickstarter. He is an award-winning teacher from Minnesota. He teaches STEM, so science, technology, that type of stuff. He's very much into pinball. If you follow him on Twitter, the Pinball Scientist, you'll find and see a lot of his work there. So you can get a copy of his interactive pinball book, which you can get on our Kickstarter, and be able to add that to any of your other reward tiers. So I think it's kind of fun, something that is different. I'm trying to add some additional stuff to this Kickstarter because it is absolutely massive. If you made it all the way through this almost 14-minute video going over everything inside the Guardian Games Studio 2024 final Kickstarter, I applaud you. Thank you very much. Thank you from everybody at Guardian Games Studio. We hope to continue to put out quality games for you guys, and we love your feedback. Thank you, everybody, future, past, present, everybody that's backed our games. This really something is that we hope to be able to do into the future, and we can only do it with your support. So thank you very much.